She said, "My male best friend will be here in 10 minutes. You can sleep on the couch." In my own house. So when he arrived, I kicked her out, handed her bags to him, and told him to take her with him. Now she's blowing up my phone, begging. My name is Evan. I am 34 years old, and I work as a systems analyst for a healthcare software company. I live in a mid-sized city on the East Coast, and my life is structured and predictable by design. Early mornings, long workdays, evenings at home. I bought my house 3 years ago, and I value calm more than anything. My girlfriend was Lauren. She is 31. We had been together just under 2 years, and she had been living in my house for the last 7 months. No lease on her end. I covered the mortgage and utilities. She handled groceries sometimes and liked to refer to the place as ours. That difference mattered more than I realized at the time. Lauren had a personality that people described as confident and outspoken. In practice, that often meant dismissive and sharp-edged. She liked testing boundaries and then acting confused when someone reacted. I had noticed it early, but convinced myself it was just her sense of humor. The recurring issue was her male best friend, Chris. Same age as her. Single. Always available. He was a constant presence in her stories and a frequent guest in our plans. I was told not to worry because they were basically siblings. Any discomfort on my end was labeled insecurity. Chris did not live nearby, but whenever he was in town, it became an event. Schedules shifted. Priorities reordered. I was expected to adapt without comment. I did, more often than I should have. The night everything ended started like any other weekday. I got home around 6. She was already irritated about something unrelated and took it out on the room. Short answers. Eye-rolling. Passive-aggressive comments about how quiet the house felt. Then, while I was reheating leftovers in my own kitchen, she casually informed me that Chris was coming over. Not to hang out briefly. Not to stop by. To stay the night. She said he would be here in 10 minutes, and that I could sleep on the couch. She said it like she was assigning a seat on a plane. That was the exact moment I stopped trying to be reasonable. I looked at her for a second, trying to figure out if she was joking. She was scrolling through her phone, completely relaxed, as if the conversation had already ended for her. I asked her to repeat it. She sighed like I was wasting her time and said it again, that Chris was staying the night, and it was more logical for me to sleep on the couch since they had not seen each other in so long. I did not argue. I did not ask follow-up questions. I did not explain how disrespectful that sounded. I just nodded once, walked past her, and went straight to the hallway closet. That was the part that seemed to confuse her the most. I pulled out 2 large duffel bags and dropped them on the bed. She finally looked up from her phone and asked what I was doing. I told her I was helping her get ready. She laughed at first, like she thought I was bluffing, until she saw me open the dresser and start packing her clothes. Only her things. Shirts, jeans, makeup bag, shoes from the closet. I moved efficiently and without emotion, the way you pack when the decision is already made. That is when her tone changed. She told me to stop. Said we could talk about it. Said I was being extreme. I reminded her that she had already made the decision for tonight without talking to me. I was just adjusting the logistics. She said I could not kick her out like that. I told her I was not kicking her out. I was honoring her plan. Her male best friend was about to arrive, and clearly she wanted to be with him, so she could go with him. She accused me of being insecure. Said I was embarrassing her. Said I was blowing things up for no reason. I did not respond. I zipped the bags and carried them to the front door. Right on cue, the doorbell rang. 10 minutes. Exactly like she said. I opened the door and Chris was standing there smiling, backpack over one shoulder. Already stepping forward like this was his place. I handed him the bags. I told him these were hers and that he should take her with him. Then I stepped back inside and closed the door. I stood with my back against the door for a few seconds after closing it, just listening. There was muffled arguing on the other side. Her voice sharp and fast. His lower and confused. I did not need to hear the words to understand the dynamic. She was scrambling to regain control. He was realizing he had walked into something he was not prepared for. Eventually, the noise moved away from the door. Footsteps down the porch steps. A car door opening, then slamming shut harder than necessary. Silence after that. My phone started vibrating almost immediately. At first, it was just texts. What the hell was that? Are you serious right now? You embarrassed me. Then the call started. Back to back. I didn't wait for them to finish ringing. I opened my phone, blocked her number, and then blocked her everywhere else I could think of. Messaging apps. Social media. Anything with a notification attached to it. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I just wasn't going to sit there and absorb panic that she created herself. The house went quiet after that. No buzzing. No knocking yet. Just stillness. I walked through the rooms, turning lights off like it was any normal night. Locked the doors. Checked the thermostat. The routine mattered. It grounded the decision. I slept in my bed that night. Alone. No couch. No guilt. The house felt calmer than it had in months. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No missed calls. No messages. Nothing. Friends would later tell me she had been spiraling, telling anyone who would listen that I had kicked her out over nothing, that I was controlling, that I overreacted. By noon, a mutual friend called to ask what happened. I told him exactly what she said to me in my kitchen, word for word. He went quiet for a long moment, and then said, "Yeah, that's not okay." That was when I knew I was done explaining. That night, she showed up at the house anyway. I could see her through the window, standing on the porch, phone in her hand, crying. I didn't open the door. She knocked once and said she just wanted to come home. And that was the problem. She thought it was still her home. It wasn't. By the next afternoon, the blocking started to ripple outward. Since she could not reach me directly, she went around me. Mutual friends. Group chats I barely used. Even my sister, who she had added months earlier and barely spoke to. The version of events she shared was selective. She said I snapped. That I kicked her out over a misunderstanding. That I was jealous of her male best friend and finally showed my controlling side. She made sure to emphasize that it was late at night and that she felt unsafe. That detail was intentional. What she left out was the couch comment. The certainty. The entitlement. My sister called me first. She did not accuse. She asked. I told her exactly what happened. No embellishment. No anger. Just the facts. There was a pause on the line. Then she said, "Yeah, that is not how adults treat each other. Especially not in someone else's house." After that, I stopped engaging completely. I did not correct rumors. I did not defend myself publicly. Anyone who mattered reached out privately. Anyone who did not believe me was not someone I needed to convince. 2 days later, she emailed me from her work address. Long message. Paragraphs. Apologies mixed with blame. She said she was stressed. That I caught her off guard. That I embarrassed her in front of Chris and damaged that friendship. That part stood out. Not our relationship. Her friendship. She said she wanted to come back and talk like adults. That she needed closure. That she deserved at least that. I did not reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to a separate folder labeled done and blocked that address too. Later that week, I changed the locks. Not because I thought she would break in, but because the house needed to feel like mine again without conditions. I boxed up the rest of her belongings, labeled everything, and texted a mutual friend to coordinate pickup while I was not home. She did not like that. Apparently, she expected tears. Negotiation. A window where she could regain ground. What she got was logistics. That was when the tone shifted from anger to desperation. And that was when things actually started to get interesting. The desperation phase was quieter but more calculated. Since she could not reach me directly, she started trying to control the narrative through other people. I heard about it in fragments. A friend mentioning she was worried about me. Someone else saying she felt blindsided. Another saying she thought I was going through something and pushed her away. None of it included what she actually said to me in my kitchen. She also started testing boundaries indirectly. A hoodie she forgot at the house suddenly became urgent. Then a piece of mail. Then a claim that she needed to grab something important she left behind. Each excuse was framed as reasonable. Each one required access. I refused all of it. I arranged one pickup window through a mutual friend. Boxes only. No conversation. No face-to-face. I was not home. That was non-negotiable. Apparently, she cried during the pickup. That detail came back to me through someone else. It was meant to soften me. It did not. Crying after consequences does not rewrite intent. What did get my attention was when Chris reached out. He sent a short message from a number I did not have saved. Said he did not know things were that serious. Said Lauren was spiraling. Said he thought I misunderstood the situation and maybe I should hear her out. That confirmed everything. I replied once. I told him there was nothing to misunderstand. I told him she made a decision for my house without asking me. I told him he was welcome to host her going forward. Then I blocked him too. After that, the story changed again. Now she was telling people she dodged a bullet. That I was cold. That I escalated too fast. That she did not feel emotionally safe with someone who could cut her off so cleanly. It was interesting how quickly empowerment replaced accountability. Meanwhile, my life became simpler. No tension when I walked into my own house. No passive comments. No negotiations disguised as jokes. Just space. Actual peace. That was when I realized something uncomfortable but useful. She never expected consequences. She expected compliance. And once that expectation broke, everything else followed. About a week after the pickup, the tone shifted again. This time it was regret wrapped in nostalgia. Mutual friends told me she was talking about the good parts now. How supportive I was. How stable life felt in my house. How she missed the routine. She stopped calling me controlling and started calling me distant. That reframing was not accidental. She sent one last message through a friend who clearly did not want to be involved. The friend said Lauren just wanted me to know she never meant to disrespect me and that the couch comment came out wrong. That she assumed I understood how important Chris was to her and thought I would be flexible like I always was. That sentence summed up the entire relationship better than anything else. She did not misjudge my feelings. She overestimated my tolerance. I told the friend to let her know I heard the message and that there was nothing to resolve. I asked them not to pass anything else along. To their credit, they respected that. Around this time, I realized how much of myself I had been shrinking without noticing. Decisions that used to be automatic had turned into negotiations. Preferences had become compromises. Silence had replaced honesty because it was easier than dealing with her reactions. With her gone, that friction disappeared overnight. I started making plans without running them by anyone. Rearranged rooms. Changed schedules. Had friends over without worrying about her mood. The house stopped feeling like a shared stage and started feeling like a private space again. The irony was that the calmer I got, the more unsettled she seemed. According to others, she kept saying she did not recognize me anymore. That I had changed. I had not changed. I had just stopped accommodating behavior that never respected me in the first place. And that realization set the stage for what happened next. The final shift happened when she stopped talking about me and started talking at me again. She showed up at my house on a Sunday afternoon. No warning. No message passed through friends. Just her car in the driveway when I got back from the grocery store. She was sitting on the front steps like she belonged there, phone in hand, face already set in that practiced mix of hurt and confidence. She stood up when she saw me and said we needed to talk. Not asked. Stated. I told her no and kept walking toward the door. She stepped into my path and said this was unfair. That I was avoiding the conversation because I could not handle emotions. That adults talk things out instead of shutting people down. I unlocked the door and turned to her once. I told her adults do not tell their partner to sleep on the couch so another man can take their bed. I told her that conversation already happened. In my kitchen. She just did not like the outcome. That was when the bitchiness came out full force. She said I was overreacting to a joke. That normal couples would laugh it off. That my ego was fragile. That any secure man would have trusted her. She said I threw away a relationship over nothing and that I would regret it when I realized how hard it is to find someone like her. I listened without interrupting. Then I told her this was the last time she would show up uninvited. I said if she came back again, I would treat it as trespassing. Calm voice. No threats. Just boundaries. Her confidence cracked for a second. She asked if I was really choosing this hill to die on. I told her she chose it when she packed my night away like it was a favor. She left after that. No yelling. No tears. Just anger tightly wrapped in dignity. That night, she posted vague quotes about knowing your worth and cutting off toxic people. People commented supportively. I did not look twice. Because for the first time since she moved in, my house felt completely mine. And she finally understood that begging does not work when respect is already gone. After that last encounter, the begging actually started. Not immediately. Pride held for about 48 hours. Then the messages leaked through again, this time through people I barely talked to. Old coworkers. Friends of friends. One even reached out on a platform I had forgotten I still had. The tone was completely different now. She was sorry. She said she panicked. She said she pushed too far. She said she did not realize how serious I was until it was already done. She said she missed me. Missed us. Missed the house. That part came up a lot. Apparently Chris did not work out as a safety net. From what I heard, he stayed distant once things got uncomfortable. He was happy to visit. Less happy to take responsibility. That reality seemed to hit her hard. She asked if she could just come by and talk. No expectations. No staying over. Just conversation. She promised. I did not respond. Then came the late-night message sent through a mutual friend. She was crying. She said she felt stupid. She said she never thought I would actually choose myself over her. That sentence told me everything. She never expected consequences. She expected leverage. What she wanted was not reconciliation. It was restoration of control, the ability to rewrite the ending into something where she still had access. By this point, my life had already adjusted. The house felt lighter. I was sleeping better. I stopped replaying conversations in my head. The constant low-level tension I had normalized was gone, and I had no interest in inviting it back. I finally sent one message. Not to her. To the mutual friend acting as messenger. I told them to tell her this chapter was closed, and that there would be no conversation now or later. I asked them to stop passing things along. They agreed. That night I sat in my living room, quiet, no background noise, and realized something simple but important. I did not lose anything. She did. And once that reality settled in for her, the story shifted one final time. The last move she made was public. About a week after the begging phase burned out, she posted a long story on social media about betrayal and emotional abandonment. No names, no details, just enough implication to invite speculation. She talked about being discarded, about how men panic when challenged, about how she almost lost herself trying to accommodate someone else's insecurities. People ate it up. Comments poured in. You deserve better. You're so strong. His loss. She reshared them all. It was the cleanest version of the story she could tell without anyone asking questions she did not want to answer. What she did not expect was that a few people already knew the full context. One of her friends messaged me privately, not to accuse, to clarify. She said something did not add up and asked me what actually happened. I sent her one screenshot. Just one. The couch message. No commentary. No explanation. She replied a few minutes later and said, "Oh, that was it." I did not send it to anyone else. I did not post my side. I did not defend myself publicly. But the tone around her shifted after that. Subtly. Fewer enthusiastic comments. Fewer shared posts. Support cooled when reality crept in. Apparently, she started asking why I never responded. Why I did not try to clear my name. Why I let people think whatever they wanted. The answer was simple. I did not need to be understood by people who were not there. At work, I was offered a remote option I had been waiting on. At home, the house felt finished in a way it never had before. I rearranged the bedroom. Donated things that reminded me of compromise instead of comfort. The more distance I put between myself and the situation, the smaller it became. She wanted a reaction, a defense, a chase. She got silence. And that silence did more damage to her narrative than any argument ever could. The last time I heard anything about her was 3 months later, and it did not come from her. A mutual friend mentioned she had moved in with a roommate across town. Smaller place. Temporary situation. Apparently, she was telling people it was a fresh start. That she was focusing on herself now. That she learned a lot from the breakup. I believe that part, actually. Just not in the way she tells it. I never unblocked her. Not out of anger. Because reopening contact would have served no purpose. Everything that needed to be said was already said the moment she told me to sleep on the couch in my own house. Since then, my life has been quiet in a way that feels earned. The house is mine again. Not shared. Not negotiated. Not walked on carefully. I sleep well. I host friends without tension. I make plans without bracing for attitude or passive comments. Looking back, the wildest part is how small the trigger was compared to the outcome. One sentence. 10 minutes notice. A couch. But it was never about the couch. It was about entitlement. About assuming I would step aside to make room for someone else, because that was easier than respecting me. She thought she was calling my bluff. There was no bluff. When someone shows you exactly where you rank in their priorities, the only move left is to remove yourself from the ranking entirely. I did not yell. I did not argue. I did not beg or threaten. I handed her bags to the man she chose to prioritize and told him to take her with him. Everything that followed, the begging, the spiraling, the narrative rewriting, was just her reacting to a consequence she never thought would come. If anyone reading this is stuck in a situation where respect is treated like something you earn instead of something you're given, take note. You do not fix that with more patience. You fix it by standing up once and meaning it. That was the end of my relationship, and the beginning of having my house, my peace, and my self-respect back.